That is quite catchy. That is Bryan Bielanski. That is called The Perfect Date. And this is Matt Connarton Unleashed. And we are live from the studios of WMNH 95.3 FM in glorious Manchester, New Hampshire. Today is October 12, 2024. And Jenny is here, of course, at the news table.
Present and accounted for.
And we have Bryan here with us. Let's see if that mic is working, Bryan. How are you?
Hey, how's it going? I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Oh, there we go. Now I can hear you.
All right.
Bryan is, so we were talking off air about, I was trying to figure out if I was saying your name correctly. And so it turns out I wasn't, but I was. Because, so you professionally, you go by Bryan Bielanski.
Yes.
But the way I was saying it, Bielanski is actually the,
yeah, that's how you say it correctly in Poland, and it is a Polish name. So I'm doing the Midwestern Americanized accent version.
Well, fair enough. But we do have listeners in Poland, I believe.
Awesome.
I made that up, but it's nice to think we do. I mean, it's the internet.
Well, I definitely promoted this show on my social media pages and do have quite a few followers in Poland. So hopefully now there are some listeners there if there weren't before.
There you go. Yeah, you're on a big national tour, right? Or you're going everywhere.
Yeah. Well, this fall it is a Midwest, East Coast, and Canada tour. I actually just got back from Edmundston, New Brunswick, playing a show up there last night.
Okay.
So yeah, all over the place, just trying to promote the new album, Bryan's Super Happy Fun Time 4.
Yes. No, I love it. It's very, very catchy stuff. Fun songs. Didn't have to make any radio edits, which is nice.
Oh yeah, I always try to be polite to the to my friends in the radio there, make everything FCC friendly.
Where are you from?
I am from Charlotte, North Carolina. That's my home base.
No kidding. We have listeners there.
Very good.
We do have listeners
for real,
there.
for real.
Yeah. That is true.
Loyal listeners.
Yes.
Excellent. All right. Well, hello, Charlotte listeners.
that is a verifiable fact. So is that where you currently live?
That is my home base, yes. Although saying I live there is kind of a stretch. I'm there maybe a few weeks out of the year.
Yeah,
the rest of the time I'm just traveling across the country. And like we were talking off the air, did a Europe tour earlier this year too. So yeah, I spend most of my time traveling and playing music. But I do call Charlotte home at the end of the day, for a few weeks at least.
How long have you been doing this full time touring?
2012 was when I made the big plunge and decided to go from being a part-timer like weekend warrior to just kind of being a nomad and kind of living on the road more or less.
Was it scary at first?
It's still scary. It's still especially at first. I mean, you get used to a lot of aspects of it, and honestly, the aspect of not doing it is scarier to me than all the things that folks might consider scary about being on the road.
Yeah.
But yeah, you get used to it, and it's great. It's a lot of hard work, but it's a lot of fun too.
Have you been touring steadily since 2012? Actually, the pandemic probably.
We know that. We know there was a little break for that, and I actually have been touring steadily since things reopened from COVID. Pre-COVID, it would get to see. I've gotten better about the business aspect. At first, in 2012, I'd be on tour for like 9 months, run out of money, have to work a couple months at my old job, and then go on tour another 7 months. It depends. But lately, I think I've made every financial mistake there was to make as being a traveling musician. So now I know how to weather the storm if, some years are better than others.
Sure.
But yeah. Since things reopened after COVID, this has been it.
Yeah. You're making it work, certainly. And that's great. Good for you.
Thank you.
Good for you. Well, do you want to play something live for us? I'd love to hear you live. Yeah.
Sure. I'm going to do a song from my last album, Bryan's Super Happy Fun Time 3, the predecessor to the new one. And this song's called Rock the Library. It's a song about how I hang out in the libraries all day before my shows because it's a great place to get some work done, hang out for free, and even every once in a while have a chance to read a book.
There you go. All right.
Well, honey, I know what you need. I like to write and you like to read. I really like the way you look. Are you gonna check out my library book? Cause I'm your host with the most rockin' libraries, coast to coast on I-10, I-20, I-30, 40, I-50, I-60, I-70, 80. I love you, baby, don't mean maybe. You're hotter than mashed potatoes and gravy. Well, I'm your host, A-OK, rockin' libraries, USA. Yeah, you look so cute in your glasses, studying for college classes. No fails, only passes, sweeter than Alabama molasses. I'm your host with the most rockin' libraries, coast to coast on I-10, I-20, I-30, 40, I-50, I-60, I-70, 80. I love you, baby, don't mean maybe. You're hotter than mashed potatoes and gravy. Well, I'm your host, A-OK, rockin' libraries, USA. Yeah. Rock, rock, rock the library. 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 I'm your host, A-OK, rockin' libraries, USA. Yeah, honey, I know what I need. I like a girl that likes to read. Come on, baby, I'm no fool. I know that the library's cool, and I'm your host with the most rockin' libraries, coast to coast on I-10, I-20, I-30, 40, I-50, I-60, I-70, 80. I love you, baby, don't mean maybe. You're hotter than mashed potatoes and gravy. And I'm your host, A-OK, rockin' libraries, USA. Yeah. Rock, rock, rock the library. 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 I'm your host, A-OK, rockin' libraries, USA.
Very nice.
That was awesome. I love it.
Thanks, y'all. Thank you very much.
Bryan Bielanski is here with us live in studio if you're just joining us. And yeah, libraries. Do you have you found that there aren't as many as there used to be?
Oh, no, there seem to be plenty of libraries. The only thing I've noticed was, well, you know, a lot of them are not open for as many hours
Yeah.
as they used to be. A lot of the public libraries are closed on Sundays, but, you know, honestly, I also do university libraries a lot, too, because they're often, like, open till late at night. So, like, if I have an early show, I stop by a college library, pull out my laptop, and you know, start sending emails to book and promote shows. That's pretty much how I keep things going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, do you have because a lot of the people who listen to this show are musicians or people who are aspiring to do what you do. Like, do you have advice for maybe somebody who's just starting out who wants to be able to do what you do in terms of touring nationally, hitting the road? You know, you mentioned mistakes that you made, especially, you know, early in your career.
Oh, absolutely. My advice to anyone that wants to, you know, do music full time, just pretty much, it's all I do, more or less. You know, if I'm not driving city to city or playing shows, I'm just I'm on my laptop promoting and booking shows. So I literally, you know, don't have a lot of downtime, and yeah, I just spend all my time just, you know, working hard at it, and whatever you focus on, I think if it's music or anything, if you devote your entire focus to whatever your goals are, then I mean, it's bound to happen, like, you know, little by little. And my other advice is, do not let any rejections or anybody who, you know, saying something mean about your music or about you as a person, don't let that deter you, because a lot of the times the people are probably just jealous. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, don't let any of that stuff bother you, and just work hard and keep a positive attitude, and, you know, stay calm when challenges arise. That's my advice.
Yeah.
Well said.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think that too kind of gels with what, you know, in the first hour, our guest, Six Minds Combined, who's kind of an alternative hip hop artist from the area, he said something similar about, you know, really keeping positive and not, you know, not letting rejection or criticism affect you. But he talked about how, you know, the way he really got into his career was he had gotten into some trouble a long time ago, and he ended up having to do community service, and he had to do community service with a place called Positive Street Art, which is where he met someone with whom he collaborates with musically and so forth. And it just kind of snowballed from there. And how approaching it, he talked about how approaching everything positively really enables him to have the career that he has now.
And that's the truth. And I think, that like it's true in anything you do, that if you stay positive and you treat people the way you want to be treated. I mean, I know there's a lot of people in, the music business and in any business that, will try to get ahead at the expense of other people, but and that might work for the short term, but in the long term, I think, in karmically and just also, people talk. So when people do rude things or treat people poorly, I mean, it's a small world. It's much smaller than you'd expect.
The internet has made it very small.
Indeed.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think you bring up a good point about how you treat people, because it's so much of it is about building relationships and having a strong reputation, because people talk and.
Well, it's quite true. And one thing I've seen in shows where I'm playing with other musical acts, and maybe some that are, more famous than I am, but I've seen a lot of musicians treat their fans poorly, like they can't be bothered with them. And that just always boggled my mind. I'm like, these people that like your music is the reason why you're doing what you're doing. So anytime like somebody, tries to reach out to me and express that they like my music, I try my best to express my appreciation for them, because if it wasn't for those people, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing.
Right, exactly. Do you have any idea how many songs you've written? It looks like, from what I see online, it looks like you've written quite a few.
Exactly 180 published songs.
Wow.
Yes. Before I was a solo artist, I had a band for many years. So most of those songs are the old band. I still play a few of those old band songs here and there in my live sets. But yeah, 180.
And you've probably written, I imagine, you strike me as someone who writes a lot. You've probably written a lot that you haven't even recorded yet, I would think.
Well, yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, because Bryan's Super Happy Fun Time 4, the new album, it just came out last month. And as soon as I was done recording the album this summer, I just got a flood of new song ideas. I'm like, that always happens too. I was like, oh man, why couldn't have I wrote this one before the album and put it on this album? But yeah, I definitely have almost the whole next album written whenever I find the time and the money to record it. Then it's definitely, I've got the songs all set.
Where do you record?
So most of my songs I record in Charlotte. There's a studio called Catalyst Recording, and my producer Rob Tavlione down there, and we've been working together for almost 20 years, since the old days with my old band, and he does a great job. I always like to say he's like the George Martin of the Southeast United States. He's great. I mean, he collaborates. He plays percussion on a lot of the songs on the albums. And this last album, actually, I did the whole thing at his studio. It was a better year financially, because sometimes I just do the radio singles, like the standout tracks, at his studio, and then I'll self-record the rest of the album in my home studio. But this year treated me okay, so I actually got to do the whole album at Rob's studio.
Oh, outstanding!
Neat.
Outstanding.
Yeah, it was neat.
What was the band that you were in? What did you guys sound like?
So the band was called Anguish, with a W, ANGWISH, and it was punk rock / hard rock kind of band. Yes. So I definitely did like a 180 as far as like the lyrical themes. Like, now it's Bryan's Super Happy Fun Time, whereas like, the old band was more like angry, screaming punk rock songs and stuff. So actually, the final album as a band I got to do with the late great Steve Albini back in 2016.
No kidding.
And that was he was a great guy too. I mean, he did so much for independent music, and he was really pleasant guy to work with. He was just ultra professional, had a lot of input and ideas for a lot of the songs we recorded there. So it was a great way for me to like end that chapter of my life, to get to something a dream I'd always had. Is my favorite engineer by far.
That's fantastic that you got to work with Steve Albini. That's great.
Thank you.
He just passed. It was a couple of years ago, right?
It was earlier this year, actually.
Oh, it was earlier this year. Wow. And then so after that, so the band, was that, after having that experience, was that kind of like, well, there's nowhere else to go with this, or?
Well, actually, what it was, I mentioned I've been touring live since 2012, and it was like half and half, band and solo, because basically I'd set up tours as my band, but bandmates would just like flake out halfway through the tour because living life on the road at the level that I do it can be a little grueling and it's not for everybody. So basically band members would quit and I'd be left like just showing up to the places alone with my acoustic guitar being like, my band bailed on me, but I'm here. I still want to play. And I just got the epiphany. I was like, why don't I just do this?
Right. Right.
And it's been a lot easier logistically since I just started being a solo artist.
Yeah.
And then of course on the albums I'm doing the instruments, like the track we played to start the show. I'm doing drums, bass, lead guitar. So I still get to kind of have fun in the studio, like I'm a full band laying each track down one at a time.
Yeah.
Paul McCartney style. But yeah, when I'm live, this is what I do. I got my acoustic guitar and I'm just singing and playing my songs.
Yeah, it's hard with, I've been in bands and somebody, I forget who it was now, somebody on the show described the challenge of it, in terms of scheduling and all of it. It's like being, like if you're in a band with three other people, it's like being in three separate relationships, and those with people who are all in three separate relationships, it's hard. It's really hard.
It's so hard. And it's sad too, because the last incarnation of my band, we were just a two-piece. It was just me and a drummer, but still it was just, like I said, it's more like, sleeping in a vehicle and, not, dealing with all the, pressures of the road. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's a fun time too, but there's a lot of things that I think, quote unquote, normal people might find just they couldn't, deal with it on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So yeah, but what you said was 100% true. Like, trying to, manage all the schedules and it is, it's like being in a family and being like in a relationship. So, it's tricky. I mean, and a lot of my ex bandmates are still like very supportive. Come to my shows when I'm around in Charlotte. So yeah, definitely like not a lot of amicable breakups. Just kind of like, hey Bryan, I just can't do this. Not like
yeah,
like I can't stand you and I never want to see you again.
Well, that's good. Is the material that you recorded with Anguish, is that still available online?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. As a matter of fact, accidentally, because I didn't understand how all the digital distribution worked at the time, my first solo album is actually under the old band, which is, I would like little mistake on my part. Like I said, I think I made every mistake. I was like, I didn't know I had to create a brand new, identity online for my new project. So all that stuff, if anybody wants to see it, but I will warn anybody that that stuff is not family friendly, like the Bryan Super Happy Fun Time stuff is. So just a fair warning to anyone, because there's a lot of like younger listeners these days. I've been playing a lot of shows at things like churches and schools and things like that. So definitely, I just like to say parental advisory for the earlier stuff. There's some clean stuff, but a lot of it was punk rock. So enough said, I guess.
Understood. Well, do you want to play another one for us? I'd love to hear another song.
Absolutely, sure. I'm going to just do one more from the last album, and this one is called Baby, I'm Your Super Mario.
All right, Bryan Bielanski live in studio with us.
Baby, I'm your Super Mario. Oh yeah, you're Super Mario. Give me a try, you won't be sorry-o. Oh no, you won't be sorry-o. I'm getting big, I'm getting super. I'm gonna save you from King Koopa. You're gonna be my Princess Peach. The level 8 castle is in my reach. Baby, I'm your Super Mario. Oh yeah, you're Super Mario. You just stay away from Wario. Oh no, don't go with Wario. You're gonna be my Princess Peach. The level 8 castle is in my reach. Will all my dreams have come true, except the one where I save you? Where I save you. Cause all my dreams have come true, except the one where I save you. I just wanna be your guy. We'll have a super happy fun time. Baby, I'm your Super Mario. Baby, I'm your Super Mario. Baby, I'm your Super Mario. Baby, I'm your Super Mario now.
Bryan Bielanski live in studio with us here on this Saturday morning on Matt Connarton Unleashed. Yeah, I'll tell you, if you're going to write a song about a video game, it makes sense to do that one because it's timeless.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Super Mario goes back to when I was a kid.
Oh, yeah, me too. And ironically, that when that song came out on my last album last year, I had no idea there was a Super Mario movie coming out, and it actually came out just about the same month that the movie came out. I was like,
oh, really?
What a coincidence. But it worked out. I think that's the most popular song as far as the digital streaming sites go, which is kind of neat. I like it. And once again, used to love playing video games as a kid. Not a lot of time to play video games now with organizing, 300 shows a year. So instead I write and play songs about them instead.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, and video games can be highly addictive too, so probably better to avoid them.
No doubt. Well, you know what? I love video games, and I feel like the fact that I was so into them when I was a kid has like really helped me with my booking and my promoting, surfing the internet, trying to find, radio, TV stations and venues. Like the faster I can find their emails, I'm like, it's kind of like, jumping out of the way of the Koopa Troopa and Super Mario. Are you fast enough to do that? Are you fast enough to find the right place before another band books it, kind of thing?
Right. Yeah, no, that makes sense. In your experience, because again, you started touring in 2012, and then of course, the pandemic kind of caused that break, and then you got back out. Is touring different post pandemic in terms of like, I hear people complain that some venues have closed and that kind of thing.
Yes, I think if I'm not mistaken, and I could be wrong about this, but I believe that pre-COVID, that I think close to 1/3 of all venues in the U.S. closed down. Now, there are new ones popping up too, which is great. But yes, sadly, I mean, venues that I'd played at for years and years that I had great relationships with went out of business because they just could not weather the storm. I mean, the COVID thing really, it killed a lot of venues, which is sad. But you know what? Like I said earlier about the advice, you just keep going. Like I said, I've started playing a lot of places that a lot of musicians don't even think about playing, like schools, homeless shelters, hospitals. So, and I think a lot of musicians probably don't want to play those kinds of places for whatever reason. But to me, those are some of the most fun shows and some of the most appreciative audiences at places that don't typically get musicians.
No, that makes sense. Is there a particular or place or type of place that you've played that really kind of surprised you, where it ended up being a better experience than you thought?
And it's funny. I have a song where I list off all the different interesting places. So I've played grocery stores. I played a laundromat once.
Yeah.
A dentist office waiting room in Mexico. I was able to get a
Oh,
Played
wow.
for the people waiting to get their dental work done and got a discount for doing the concert. So that was kind of yeah. And to me, like the more unique of a place, like the more fun it is. And like I said, I've been having a lot of fun, doing the shows at like homeless shelters and hospitals and rehabilitation centers. Just trying to think about people in the population that like I said, a lot of musicians don't think about playing for them, and I like to to do those kind of shows.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. And while you're on the road, do you primarily do shows by yourself, or do you have anybody you team up with, or anybody you tour with?
Mostly it's so when I'm traveling, it's just me in my car going city to city. Most of my shows are me just performing on my own, and my concerts can be anywhere from like an hour and a half, 2 hours to I've done up to 5 hours.
Really?
A 5-hour concert, a few of those. Yeah. Those are few and far between, but I have done a couple of them. Sometimes I do play shows where I'm playing a shorter set and there's other musicians or bands on the bill with me, but typically it's I'm doing the longer concerts where it's just me.
Wow. No kidding. You've done a show that was 5 hours?
5 hours, yeah. One in New Mexico and one in Wyoming.
Wow, that's like Springsteen in the '80s when he'd do those 5-hour shows.
Yeah, it was there's something else, but I love a challenge. So when they were in one of the venues was like, hey, our next band canceled. Can you just play 5 hours instead of 2.5? I was like, I'm on it.
Wow, wow, no kidding. I hope they paid you for it.
I did get paid extra.
Yeah.
So that, which was a great part. That's definitely a great part of that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, you want to play another live one for us?
Absolutely. I'll this next song that I'm gonna carry on with here. This is one from the brand new album, Bryan's Super Happy Fun Time 4. And this is a little bit more of a serious song, I guess. It's my version of a We Are the World kind of song about how I wish everyone in the world would get together or get along better. You've gotta give a little love, and you'll get a little love. So what are you thinking of? Commands from heaven above. You've gotta give a little love. Well, I don't think that it's too late. Things in our world could be great. Well, if we all pray for peace, the wars and hunger all may cease. You gotta give a little love, and you'll get a little love. So what are you thinking of? Commands from heaven above. You've gotta give a little love. I know we can do it. Let's put our minds to it. Sisters and brothers, be good to each other. I know we can do it. Let's put our minds to it and make the world a better place for everyone. You gotta give a little love, and you'll get a little love. What are you thinking of? Commands from heaven above. You gotta give a little love.
I like that.
Me too.
Thank you.
That's something we could all use, right?
Yeah, give a little love from
Yep.
the new album there. And it gets tricky too because most people know me for my happy-go-lucky, like semi-silly songs. So, but I felt like doing a serious song here and there is okay.
No, I think and very appropriate, I think.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. If you are just joining us on this Saturday morning, we have Bryan Bielanski here with us live in studio. Where do you go from here, Bryan? Because you said so your last show was in Canada, is that right?
Yeah, last night played in Edmundston, New Brunswick. After I leave the show here, I am headed to Swansea, New Hampshire, where I will be playing at the West LA Beer Company today from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m.
Oh wow, okay,
Yes.
Very cool, very cool.
Yeah, and it's great to be back in New Hampshire.
How much of the country have you like? Do you keep track of how many states you've played in?
Oh yes, that's something as a matter of fact, I list them all out in the bio. It's been 49 states and 25 countries abroad that I've performed in.
Wow. What's the one state you haven't hit?
Alaska.
Alaska, yeah.
But they're not going to get away from me forever. I'll eventually get there. They're in my sights.
Yeah. How many times have you gone overseas to do tours?
So this year would have been my fifth time going overseas to Europe, and I've done one Central American and one Asian tour in the past, and I'd love to get back to Asia. And Central America was pre-COVID, so I'd love to get back to both those places. And I've still got Australia and Africa and South America, and to get to, and then I've finally Antarctica eventually.
Oh, no kidding.
So yeah, that's my life stream is to perform in all 7 continents while I'm still here.
Do the challenges that come with touring change when you go like Central America, or is it all? I mean, or is it the same challenges but just more severe, shall we say?
It's kind of the same. Like, luckily, Central America, I'm not great speaking Spanish, but I'm a little bit better at Spanish than any other language.
Okay.
I think language, luckily a lot of people abroad speak English as a second language. So that between that and me, I always try to learn at least a little bit of every country I go to. That got a little trickier when I was in places like Finland and Latvia and even like Poland was really tricky. French and Italian and German, a little bit easier, a little bit closer to English. But yeah, I always make sure I sing in English, but when I'm talking to the audience in between songs, I always learn how to say, this next song is from my last album. As a matter of fact, yesterday in New Brunswick, I was in a French-speaking part of the province there, so I got to practice my French again last night, speaking to the audience there. Oh. But same kind of challenges. I just do a lot of online research and find venues, and after I get my venues booked, I try to find radio, newspapers, and stuff to promote the shows. And it's just it's a labor of love. A lot of hours spent.
Yeah. Wow. What was the most challenging place that you've played geographically?
Ooh, I would have to say Thailand.
Really?
When I was there, just it was trickier to find venues there. Luckily, I had kind of like boots on the ground. I had some friends that lived in Thailand, and they were the ones that helped me book the majority of my shows in
good.
Thailand. So it would have been a lot more challenging if I didn't have friends already there, kind of like, going to places like in person and talking me up to different music venues. So that was kind of challenging, but it was also probably one of the most fun countries abroad.
Really?
Just because it was, such a different culture, and the people there were so friendly, so amazing.
No kidding.
And great food too.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. You want to play another one?
Sure, absolutely. So this next song that I'll carry on with is from my album 2 albums ago, Bryan's Super Happy Fun Time 2, and this was the main single from that album. It's called Elf Girlfriend. She's an elf in the woods, and she's magic. If she turned me away, it'd be tragic. I feel like I've known her for years. I really like her pointy ears. She's an elf in the woods, I discovered. She's an elf, now I think I'm gonna love her. I know she lives inside a tree. That's really okay with me. Well, I'm so intrigued, and I never knew that she exists. Oh yeah, it's true. 'Cause my life was bad, but now it's cool. Well, I know what I gotta do. She's an elf in the woods, and she's magic. If she turned me away, it'd be tragic. I feel like I've known her for years. Really like her pointy ears. She's an elf, prettier than Princess Zelda. I'm Quasimodo, she's Esmeralda. I know she lives inside a tree. That's really okay with me. She's my elf, she's my elf girlfriend. She's my elf, she's my elf girlfriend. She's my elf, she's my elf girlfriend.
Very nice. Very nice.
Thank you very much.
Did you meet an actual elf in the woods?
No, that song, it is a fairy tale.
Okay.
That did not actually, even though most of my songs are actually, you know, I'm singing them all from my own perspective. So that one, actually, when COVID hit in 2020, and nobody was sure if things were going to open soon or not. Of course, they winded up not. So I spent many months camping in national forests, and I like to do a lot of research on anything I'm doing, and I kept researching that a lot of people would see supernatural creatures in the national forests, and some of them, almost all of them were like Bigfoot, Sasquatch, scary, threatening things. And then you'd hear a few people talk about like the pixies and fairies and like the more benevolent kind of creatures. And I've always been a fan of supernatural stuff. So I was like, well, let me do a song about, you know, instead of like a big scary Bigfoot, if there was like a benevolent creature in the woods. So yeah, little fairy tale song there when I was bored in the woods for 3 months during the COVID quarantine.
Oh, very cool. Do you remember the first song you ever wrote?
Oh, I do actually. Yes, I do. The first good one, you know, I guess there was like some proto songs, but but yes, I actually do. I you know, used to write them all down in notebooks, and yeah, that's a very good question. I actually do remember what I think, at least the first one that you know was written down and everything. Yeah. Absolutely.
Did it survive, or did you leave it behind?
As a matter of fact, I had resurrected it and put it on the very first Bryan Super Happy Fun Time.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
You know, and it's funny too. A lot of times, you know, when I release music, I like to release albums. I know a lot of musicians, I guess I'm old fashioned that way. A lot of musicians these days just like to do singles and EPs, but I don't know, from what I hear, you know, albums are still the way to go, because I look at an album's kind of like a painting, and one song is like, you know, one thing in the painting, like the tree in the landscape painting or whatever. So I like to do that, and a lot of times I'll go back to like my really early songs. And, you know, when I'm trying to, you know, I'm like, oh, I need 3 more songs for this album. I'm like, wait a minute. All right. That part of that song was good. This part of this song was good. So sometimes I Frankenstein songs together too.
Yeah.
But it did survive. Yeah.
A subject that comes up a lot on the show is, you know, because we live in a time where there's so many different strategies you can use for releasing music. And, you know, some artists just do EPs, or some just do singles, or some of our guests that we've had in recent years, their strategy is to release a series of singles that eventually become an album, kind of the inverse of what we're used to traditionally. But
indeed, and I've done that before in the past. And there's no wrong way to do things. Of course, what I've been doing, as a matter of fact, last year I put out the full album, Bryan Super Happy Fun Time 3, but I also put out an EP of all non-album tracks. I'm a big Beatles fanatic. And one thing I loved about them is that their EPs and their singles were almost always things that were not on their albums. They wanted to make sure their customers were getting their money's worth. So that's something I do. If I ever do an EP or a single, I try to make sure that it's not something that you can just get on the album and make your fans buy something twice kind of thing.
Right.
So that's something I try to do too.
That's like a British thing, I feel.
It is.
Because a lot of British artists would do that. Not even necessarily then, but even in more recent years, like Oasis, of course, it was back in the 90s now when Oasis first got big. Seems like more recent, but I noticed they, right from the beginning, did that. Like one of my favorite Oasis song, which happens to be Acquiesce, was originally the B-side. It eventually came out on a best of album, but it was originally a B-side that was not released on an album.
No kidding. And for me, like Nirvana, another one of my big inspirations. And I loved, to me, that was like just the best thing, getting a single with a B-side that you could not get anywhere else. And you're like, this is the best song. Why is it just the B-side to the single? It seems like the B-sides are always the best songs.
We should, so we're running out of time. I'd love to get you to play one more, but before we do that, I want to make sure our listeners know too, where to go online to keep up with everything that you're doing. If they want to follow you on tour, obviously we're local here in Manchester, but we have a lot of listeners online in other parts of the country who might, you might be coming to their area. So I want to make sure everybody knows exactly where to find Bryan Bielanski.
Great, thank you. And the way to find me online, the best way is my official website, bryanssuperhappyfuntime.com, and that is Bryan with a Y. And from bryanssuperhappyfuntime.com, you can find everything, my tour schedule, links to music streaming sites, the YouTube channel, all the social media platforms. So it's a great one-stop shop, and all the links to anything else you might like to consume music on are right there on bryanssuperhappyfuntime.com.
Excellent. It looks like you've got tour dates going all the way for the next year.
Yes. Yeah, well, that's the thing. Europe next year. You see, Europe, they book pretty far in advance. So there's stuff going all the way up to next September. So like I said, it's good to stay busy.
Absolutely. Yeah, you want to play one more for us?
Absolutely. Well, I'll do one song from the original Bryan Super Happy Fun Time album, Bryan Super Happy Fun Time 1.
All right.
Love you once, love you twice, love you more than beans or rice, my baby, my pretty baby, my little lady, my pretty baby. Love you up, love you down, gotta love you where I found my baby, my pretty baby, my little lady, my pretty baby, yeah. Love you here, love you there, gotta love you everywhere, my baby, my pretty baby, my little lady, my pretty baby. Love you once, love you twice, love you more than beans or rice, my baby, my pretty baby, my little lady, my pretty baby, my little lady, my pretty baby, yeah.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Bryan Bielanski live in studio with us. And no, this has been wonderful, Bryan. We really appreciate your coming in